The Unfiltered by Jade.
Jade. Welcome to The Unfiltered by Jade, where we educate, empower, and entertain. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, download, donate, and make everybody know about this.
Beats by RB Records.
Shopping assistance, your style, your budget. Our services include online and local shopping for individuals and businesses, personal shopping, purchasing of company and office supplies, importing and exporting small packages across Jamaica and worldwide, and helping you find unique gifts and items for all events and occasions. Contact us at 876-919-5195 or shoppingassistance2015@gmail.com. Shopping Assistance, your style, your budget.
Welcome back to The Unfiltered by Jade. Today we have with us here Dr. Ronica Jacobs. She is a multilingual educator, an author, resilience coach, Lifejacked podcast host, and also the Strive for More podcast host. She's a speaker, a trainer, and a boy mom of 3. Good for her. Hi, Ronica.
Hi, Jade. How are you, my sister?
I am good. How are you?
I am well. I am well.
Nice. So I'm excited to have you on the show. And first instance, I was also on your show a couple weeks ago,
Yes.
which was also good. We had a good conversation. So now you're on the other side. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
you're on the
I was
other
just
side.
thinking that. I was like, wow, now I'm if the roles are reversed, I'm on
Yes,
the
it is.
opposite side. I'm in the hot seat now. Yes.
So today we're going to be speaking about being a resilient mom. And you have a lot to unpack for us here. And I'm sure my listeners will learn as well as I will learn something from you in regards to this. So I want you to share a personal experience when you face a significant challenge as a mother.
Whew. There's so many, girl. So many. One of them that comes to mind that plays out and is the most front and most forward in my mind is
Mhm.
the moment I realized that I have 3 children. And I say that, of course,
Mm.
I knew I had 3 children once the third one came. I gave birth to him, but right. But I was in my kitchen and the oldest was doing homework, the youngest was spinning around, and the baby was crying. And I think at this time, my youngest was probably 3 months or so. I had just gone back
Mercy.
to work and I was cooking. My ex husband, we were still married at the time. And
Hmm.
I was standing in my kitchen and I was looking at all of this going on. And I just started crying. I just
Of
was like,
course.
oh my gosh, this is a lot. Right? I was like, all this stuff is going on. And then, mind you, I was also a doctoral student at that time as well. So all of
Mm.
this is going on at once. And I just started crying. I just didn't know what else to do but just cry.
Of course.
And the oldest was looking at me. My middle son stopped spinning and he was looking, but the baby didn't stop crying. Right? And, in that moment, I just was like, crying. That's all I could do. And I
Right.
just did. I was just like, oh my gosh, I have 3 children. How am I going to do this? Right.
Right.
And then I don't know, something happened. And it could be because my 2 older children were just kind of looking at me like, what is wrong
Right.
with her? And in that moment, I realized like, you've got to get yourself together.
Right.
And I just kind of like stopped crying. I took a deep breath
Hmm.
and I was like, it's almost like I got my second wind. You know, it was
Yes.
like
Mm-hmm.
I took a breath, inhale, exhale, and I was like, we're doing this. They're here.
Yeah.
We're doing this. Like, girl,
Yeah.
we're doing this,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like
Yeah.
there's a book I can remember. It's like, girl, wipe your face. Right? It
Yeah.
was like,
Mm-hmm.
wipe your
Mm-hmm.
face. You know, the children are here. This is your life. Let's do this. And you
Yeah.
are going to be great at it. And,
Yes.
you know, you've got the strength of God through you, the courage through you. You can do this. And so I just inhale, exhale, and I was like, let's do this. Let's go. And I
Yeah.
got my second win and I haven't looked back. And I mean, each time I've had a difficult time, whether it's being divorced again, you know, finishing up my doctoral program, working, all those things that happen in life, right? They're just life things. And I just realized like
Right.
these are just moments, right? They're just moments and pieces of your life, but they don't completely define who you are. And so, yeah, you can cry, you can lay in your bed, but then you get up and you wash
You
your
get up.
face. You wash your
Mm-hmm.
face and you keep on going.
It's important though that you mentioned even going through divorce with this. So there's divorce, there's three kids, you're doing a doctorate, and you are working.
Yes.
That's a lot on your plate.
Yes.
How did you even manage that? How did you get to balance it? Because sometimes I believe there's really no balance. You just got to do something, it's gonna fall short somewhere.
Right, right. I did it by being intentional with my time, right? So
Okay.
just like you schedule meetings or you schedule things at work, right? I had to treat everything like a business. And I don't want to say that it was just impersonal, but
Right.
I just had to maximize the time, each moment and of time that I had, right? So
Right.
I had to block out time for my studies. I had to block out time to care for my kids. I had to block out
Mhm.
time for work. And so I put each of these duties or tasks in defined categories. Now, of course, with children, you can't keep them in a defined category, right? Because
Right.
they
Right.
sprinkle themselves
Oh,
throughout
they do. Uh-huh.
anyway, right?
Right.
However, I found the time to do each of the tasks that I needed to do by writing them down and scheduling them out.
Okay.
And I'm not going to say like, oh, it was just easy and I had this plan. I mean, it was rough, but I had to tell myself, you committed to this, you made a decision. And
Mm-hmm.
so you have to commit to it, you have to go for it, and it is what it is, and you can't complain about it, right? Remember, I told you before, I said, girl, wipe your face, wash your
Mm-hmm.
face,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
let's go. So it was things like I found, especially after I divorced, it was just me. So I found a drop in daycare
Okay.
and so and I found ways for my kids to have time after school to go places, right? So I started looking around, and so my oldest son, he needed like help in tutoring, right, his
Oh,
studies. My
right.
middle son, he is into acting.
Okay.
And so just by the grace of God and luck, I was able to find a kind of town center that had an acting school, a tutorial center, a tutoring center, and a drop-in daycare. Okay?
Nice.
Yes. And there was a little restaurant on the corner, kind of a little bar and grill. Okay?
Right.
So I would on a Thursday, because all my luckily everything was online for my studies.
Okay.
And and everything was kind of due just on that day.
Oh, yes.
So what I would do is anytime I had my papers to write, and I just really, became really, efficient and proficient at writing because
Right.
that's just things that I like to do. I'm an educator, and I teach English. I used to teach, newcomers how to learn English and speak English. And so
Right.
now that I'm a multilingual educator now, but going back to the resources I found was that the drop-in daycare, I was able to take the baby, right? So I
Okay.
could take the baby, drop the baby off after I get off work, and drop the baby off at 4 o'clock, and they would close at 9. So that's 5 hours that I
Hours.
have.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I would sit at the restaurant with the older kids and we would eat. Okay. Then it would be time for me to walk the oldest to his tutoring, And I
Mm-hmm.
would then take the middle son to his acting class. Okay. So
Right.
the oldest would be at tutoring for 2 hours, and then the middle son would be at his acting class for about an hour and a half. Okay. In this time, I'd also got to know the wait staff. And so I was able to like leave my stuff there. No one was going to bother it. And they knew I was going to take my kids and, drop them off and come right back. And I just
Right.
focused. I put on headphones and had on, nice music, or if I, not all the time, but a lot of times if I needed to just really focus and drown things out. And I spent
Right.
that time in that restaurant doing my work. Right.
Yes.
So it was like those were my babysitters, because my
Yeah.
parents did at the time. My parents didn't live in where I live in Houston. They didn't live with me.
Right.
They lived in a whole nother city. And so I didn't really have any family in the area of town that I lived in that was convenient to where I can just drop my kids off. Um,
Right.
so, so instead of doing, extracurricular activities for myself, like hanging out or going to the movies or getting my nails done even, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
sacrificed all those things and used that to put into my kids. And so that's what I
Yes.
meant by intentional time.
Yes.
So my kids were gaining something because my youngest, even though I'm dropping him off right at the daycare, but he's learning social skills while he's there because they had a
Right.
whole program. So it's not like I'm just dropping my baby off somewhere and just, with anybody. He's actually learning and so learning how to socialize. My
Right.
oldest is getting support in his studies. My middle son is able to go through acting classes. And all that time, I'm able to do my work. Now,
So
once
all
they
of you are
finish,
benefiting.
all of us are benefiting. And that's what you have to find. You have to find the ways that it's a win-win for everyone.
I love that. What are some of the emotions and initial reactions you had when faced with the challenges? I mean, we know you cried. We
Yes,
know. But what else, what other emotion it is? Because some women who I've spoken to want they get so depressed that they want to leave. They want to just leave their family. And it's hard to say because these are some of the things we don't speak about.
absolutely. Oh no, overwhelm. In
Yes,
addition
yes.
to the crying, I'm just feeling extremely overwhelmed. I too have had those feelings of I could just run away right now.
Yep. Hmm.
I wish, of course I'm not going to do that, but
Right, 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 right. I
but
get you.
the emotions at times can be so intense because you do feel lost at times. You do feel an immense amount of desperation even.
Yes, yes.
Because even sometimes you can plan everything out as much as you possibly can, and then there's a wrench that gets thrown in.
Oh
So
yeah.
and I can say that like there was a time that like my infant son was sick, right? Well, I can't take him to the daycare, right?
Right.
And so those are times that it just doesn't work out, and you try your best but sometimes it doesn't. But once you accept that life is not going to always be perfect,
Right.
it's a lot easier to go if you because honestly, Jay, the standards that we are holding ourselves to are
Listen.
really our own,
Oh my
right?
God.
They're really not standards that you think, right? You think that people are placing these standards and these expectations upon you, but you really don't have to meet them
Mm.
if you don't want to or if you cannot. Really, the only human person that you owe anything to is yourself. And so
Yes. Yes.
if you can go to bed at night and you can sleep soundly at the mom you are, at the person you are, if you're not battling internally, then you are fine.
Yeah.
Because if you constantly try to stand up to the standard or, hold yourself to the expectations of others, you may not ever meet them because every time you meet them, they're going to move the bar.
Oh yeah.
Right? They're going to move the bar. And so if you stop and say, you know what, I'm not running this life race for others. I'm running this life race for myself and then for my kids, right? And a lot of times we put these like we have these guilt trips like, oh, I think I'm such a bad mom because I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. this happened, I didn't cook, the right meal, or it burned or whatever. And we have all these expectations and we think we're being horrible. But honestly, kids are very forgiving, actually, and they're very understanding. They really
Mm.
are. And, and I look at that because I see kids who have parents that we may judge as not so stellar parents.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids still look at their parents like, that's my mom, that's my dad.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about moms that may be, engaging in less than desirable behaviors, may be addicted to drugs, or, dads the same, alcoholics, but kids, they still look at those people and say, that's still my mom, that's still my dad, right?
Yeah.
Now it's different for the ones that, maybe they've hurt their children personally, but I'm talking
Right.
about, when we think like, oh my gosh, I failed as a mom because I didn't show up to their game, because I didn't show up to their performance, because I wasn't there. But then if there are other times that you are there, then you're doing what you can, because I do believe that your children have to understand that that is the way that life works. And it's not realistic if you promise them that you can be at everything all the time.
Yeah. Very
Right?
true.
That's just not realistic. But I do believe if you have a conversation with your children and you're honest and transparent with them, and you teach them, because then you also teach them the same resilient skills. Like once you have them, you pass them on to your
Right.
children.
Right. Right. I think why it is that a lot of us sometimes as moms feel like we're not doing enough is really comparison,
Mm-hmm.
what we see other moms doing or we hear. But we have to remember we can always hear things, but that doesn't mean it's true.
Exactly that.
What role did resilience play in your journey as a mom?
Resilience has played a significant role. Like I said, the moment I realized, oh my gosh, I have 3 children, this is a lot.
Yeah.
um I had to realize that I have all the tools that I need to be successful. I have them, I just have to use them, right? um and so I realized, like, okay, I have to feed my children, but
Yeah.
how right? But then I realized, like, but trying to come home and cook every day is just insane.
Yeah.
And I thought
Yeah.
about meal prep, right? I was like, oh my gosh, meal prep. People do that to get healthy and all those things. But I realized, what if I cook one day, right? On Sunday. So now, and I've been doing this for about 4 years now. So I cook 2 meals on Sunday, two
Mhm.
full meals, right? And I package them up in the meal prep containers, and then I put them in the refrigerator. And then that way, during the week, if I have to work late, of course, my children are older now; they're in high school and elementary, so they're pretty independent
Right.
and self sufficient. So now, if I have to work late, or if I have something to do in the evening, or I'm doing an interview, or if they're ready to eat or whatever, they don't have to wait on me now. They know
Right.
they can go in the refrigerator, they can take out a meal, they can warm it up in the microwave, dinner is served,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Now, of course, that means that we may not be eating together, okay? And
Right.
I
Hmm.
understand that. So what I did was, I have built in time in the week where we spend time with each other at least one day a week, and that day is Wednesday. Okay. So
Okay.
Wednesdays are reserved as family days. We go out to eat as a family, and we
Okay.
rotate where we go. And that's determined by, each person in the family. So there's a little rotation.
Okay.
And there's 3 rules. Number one is that no matter where the person picks to go, that's where we go. And no one
That's
complains.
right.
No one complains, right? Yes. The second thing, unless you are sick or you have some type of obligation, that's tied to work or school, you must go. There's
You're
no
right.
getting out of it. There's no, oh, I
Right.
don't feel like it, or da, da, da. None of that. And the third thing is, when we're there, no phones.
Mm.
Okay. And so
Okay.
I did that because, like I told you, during the week, I cook meals and they're just there for them, and everybody chooses their meals or whatever, and they eat whenever they get ready. Okay. So that doesn't allow for a lot of family time during the week, right?
Right.
Because, like I said, I've got 2 high schoolers, they're doing homework. I've got an elementary, my younger one that's in elementary. Of course, he's going to go to bed earlier than his brothers.
Right.
So, we can't kind of do that to where every single day we're eating a meal as a family. But on Wednesdays, we absolutely eat as a family. Okay.
Okay.
And then when we're there, we play a game called Highs and Lows. And highs and lows is where you tell either the high of your day or the week or the month or anything in your life that you consider as a high, as a positive.
Okay.
Okay. And then you can explain and expound on it if you want to, but you don't have to. And then after you share your high, then you share your low. And it could be, again, a low of the day, a low of the week, a low of the month, or something you're experiencing, and you can expound on it if you want to. But I started doing those things to help my children understand that you are going to have good times and you're going to have bad times. So that's me
Yes.
building the resilience in them. They understand that sometimes you're going to have things that are really great, and sometimes you're going to have things that are not so great, that really suck.
Right.
But
Right.
it's okay to share them. It's okay to share them. And so they're learning that, some days I have good times and some days I don't have good times. And then, but they're sharing that amongst in a family, in a safe space with family. And so
Right.
they're learning how to share with each other.
Yeah.
Another thing that I'm building is, and that's part of me also building resilience within my children, also
Right.
helping them to recognize. And the reason why I told you about the 3, and your listeners about the 3 rules is, they have to learn that sometimes it's not about you and it's absolutely about somebody else.
Mm.
That it's
Okay.
absolutely about somebody else. And so when it's that person's turn to pick where we eat, right? You don't get to complain. That's where
Nope.
they chose. That's where we're going.
Mm. I like that.
Right. And
Yeah.
so, and we do this, but because I realize that I'm not just raising my children for the time they are in my home.
Nope.
I realize that I'm raising my sons who will one day be young men, who
Mm-hmm.
will be husbands, who will be
Mm-hmm.
fathers.
Right.
And that's what I recognize. Now, I'm not here to say as a woman, I can teach them to be men and I could teach them
Right. Right.
none of
Right.
that.
Right.
But I know I can teach them to be humans,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Adults who are empathic, adults who are nurturers and who are not self-serving, who can think about others, who can help, who can listen to others.
Who are vulnerable as men.
Exactly. And
Mm.
vulnerable as men. Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
good. That's good. What are what are some of the resources or coping strategies that helped you? And even if you had any support system, what are they?
Yeah, I do have a support system. I have my best friend. She's amazing. We've been friends since college. I have my aunt and my mother, who I can depend on. My grandmother was a big support to me, my mother's mother. I miss her all the time. She's been gone since 2017, but I can still hear her voice sometimes when
Mm.
I need something, I'm like, I need an
Mm-hmm.
answer. And it's funny. I I'm so connected to her that I can still hear her just answer me in her voice. And like, this is what she would tell me. But I have, an amazing, and I have other friends that really dear friends to me, friends that I've had since I was in second grade, really. And so I do have people around me that, number one, they tell me the truth. Like, they'll
Mm.
say, Ronica, you are wrong.
Right.
They're not
Right.
yes people. Okay.
Nice.
So they will tell me, they will tell me the truth. They're transparent. And I believe that's why we forge the relationships that we have. And I trust them.
Mm.
I know that they're not going to take my innermost moments and turn them against me or
Right.
use it for malice. They're not going to do that. And that's
Right.
one of the things that you do have to realize: who are the people that are for you? Because
Mm.
once, as I think it was Maya Angelou who said, once people show you who they are,
Oh yes, believe it.
believe them.
Believe
Believe
it.
them. So if you tell somebody something and you find out they're spreading your business, don't tell them anything anymore, because they're going to keep spreading your business,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So, and that's one of the things that I've learned is just having the ability to, and the gift from God, that I have discernment, that I recognize who the people are that show up for me and how they show up for me.
Mm,
Another thing, and that's my support system. Other things are having a strong faith in God,
right.
knowing that, and it sounds cliche to say, oh, he's not going to put on you no more than you can bear. But that is absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't broken yet. Right. And I've gone through each of these things. And that's what I want to say to moms out there, or just anybody. You haven't broken yet. You haven't broken
Mm.
yet. So you can do this. It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. It's going to suck. Right.
Oh yeah.
Um, and as I like to say, like my podcast is Lifejacked. You are going to get life jacked, meaning
Believe
that
you
there are
me.
going to be, yes, there are going to be unplanned events, unforeseen things that are going to enter your life and throw you for a loop and just basically jack your life from you.
Best believe. Mm-hmm.
But we have to realize that it's just a moment in time. And one of the things that I do often is journal. I journal a lot. I write down my thoughts. I like journals, the ultimate self-care and reflection journals. I journal and I write out my thoughts, right? And they focus me because I go back. The beauty of that is then I go back and I read them. And it helps me to remind myself who I am.
Yes.
It helps me to say, girl, look at you. Look what you went through. Look what you overcame. Look what you pushed back against. And I use that to propel myself forward. Other things that I do is I have a vision board.
Mm.
Everything that I want to accomplish is on my vision board. And so
Nice.
far, a lot of the things that are on there, I'm doing it. And I read it every day. And I even wrote myself a mantra. And I read that mantra every single day, and it's taped on my mirror, and I read it to myself. And at least
Nice.
almost every single day. I mean, if I'm not at home,
Right.
understandable, but I
Right.
do. And
Right.
I keep connecting and reconnecting with myself, right? Because
Yes.
remember, I told you, if we continue to live up to the standards that others place upon us and the expectations of others that they place upon us, we're never going to meet them, because they're always going to move the bar, right? They're always going to
Yes.
move the goalpost. But it's really about living up to your expectations and your standards. And so
Yes.
that's what I do. I'm okay. You know, I did not finish my doctoral program in 4 or 5 years. It took me 6 and almost 7 years, and I'm
And
okay
that's
with that.
okay. That's okay.
Exactly, because you know what? I finished. I
Yes.
finished. I had a full-time job, 3 kids, divorced, lost my grandmother, who was, like a mother to me.
Mm-hmm.
We went through COVID. I lost my job during that time. I got laid off because of COVID. All of those things, and I still made it through.
Yes, you did.
And the only time I realized the time restriction, I was placing that on myself.
Yes.
And it
Mm-hmm.
was stressing me out, because then
Oh
I let
yeah.
people talk me. Jay, let me tell you, and your listeners, let me tell you, I was in school for 2 semesters doing absolutely nothing. I was supposed to
Jesus.
be writing my dissertation. And thank God I had a very understanding dissertation chair. But I was just in school paying money and doing nothing, doing no work, because I was so overwhelmed. But I was trying to, because people were like, don't quit, don't stop, you need to hang in there. Not knowing what I was feeling, the emotions I was feeling, what I was going through, I just wasted money.
Yes.
Just wasted money. When, I realized, like, you've got to be strong, and you got to tell people, thank you. I appreciate that you're rooting for me, but I've got to do this my way.
Yes.
I've got to do this my way, and it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be okay.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give to other moms who are facing their own challenges and striving to be resilient? And especially for those who don't have support systems, what would you tell them?
I would say resilience is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. When you face adversity, remember that resilience is your superpower. Harness it, believe in yourself, and watch how you can overcome anything.
Yes.
Resilience is it's not about bouncing back. Okay? It's not about, the fact that you're falling down. It's bouncing forward. It's getting up. It's wiping your face. It's embracing the challenges, learning from them and using them as stepping stones towards your future, a bright future for
Mm,
you and anyone else that you impact and influence. Because if you yourself are not right, you are no help or service to anyone else.
true. They always say, for mothers, we have to make sure we're okay as we can't help our kids.
Yes,
We can't be the good mothers that we want for our kids, and we have to learn that other people's standards is not our standards.
absolutely.
Yeah, hold ourselves accountable to that.
Oh, and I would say one more thing: set boundaries. set,
Ah,
set
set
boundaries, and
boundaries.
and I mean boundaries for anyone. Boundaries with your kids, boundaries with family, boundaries with work. Set boundaries, and remember, the boundaries are not for other people. The boundaries are for yourself. It's to
Yes,
protect you. And so, anybody who gets upset for the fact that you're putting boundaries in place, that's not the place that you need to be, and that's not the person you need to be around.
true, true. I love that. That's a good insight. Many times we don't do that, especially with our
Mhm.
kids.
Absolutely. Oh no, I have mommy
We
time.
don't do that with our kids.
Sometimes I come in a house. If I've had a rough day at work, I go in my room and I have 30 minutes and they know. I'm like, nope, it's mommy time. I need mommy time. And they know. I mean, of course you have to train them, but now they
Right,
respect
right.
it. They respect it. And in turn, they've learned to say, nope, not right now. I need some me time. They're like,
Nice,
I need some time. And I respect that.
nice. I like that. You say anything that you do, how you train them, that's how they grow up. So
Yes.
that's good that you're teaching them that and how to do it respectfully.
Yes. Yes.
Mm, I like that. I like that. Dr. Rowe, where is it that we can find you and where can we get your books?
Yes. So you can find my journal. It's on Amazon. It's the Ultimate Self Care and Reflection Journal. And my podcasts, you can find them anywhere on any streaming platform that you can find podcasts. My previous podcast is called Strive for More. It's Strive, STRIVE, the number four, and then more, MORE. And you can find it on Apple, Google, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, you name it, it's everywhere.
Hmm.
Amazon Music. And then my newest podcast, which is all about resilience, is Lifejacked, the Resilience Podcast. And if you are interested in being a guest on my show, that'd be wonderful. And you can just contact me on social media. Pretty much all the social media is Lifejacked or some form of Lifejacked,
Hmm.
Lifejacked podcast or Lifejacked. And yes, and I would love to hear from you. Please follow me on all social media platforms. I'm just not on TikTok. I haven't gotten on there yet. I think I've reached my social media cap. So
Oh, I'm there
I'm
with
on
you.
Instagram. You can also find me on Instagram as Resilient Dr. Rowe. So find me on Instagram and connect with me, follow me. But yeah, I think after Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn, I think that's enough.
There's so much we can handle. So much
Yes.
and more.
Yes, yes, for sure. But they can also visit my website. It's just my name. It's www.renikaljacobs.com. So lots of places to find me. And I'd love to hear from your listeners. Contact me anytime if you're interested in resilience coaching. I trust me, I can help you find your inner superpower and harness it, believe in yourself, and watch that you overcome anything.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rowe.
Yes,
Thank you so much for being a resilient mom. And even teaching us, the listeners, to be resilient because sometimes we need that in order for us to be okay. Thank you so
absolutely.
Thank you so much for that. And I want to continue thanking our listeners for listening to the Unfiltered by Jade. And we'll be back next week, Tuesday. Thank you. Bam, 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 bam,